Hello there, it's Pete here, and today I'm going to talk to you about the wonderful Loving Thoughts Craft Box. This is the February Craft Box. I've got one here, it's completely unopened. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through everything that's in it, and then we're going to look at a couple of techniques. So we're not going to really do a make from start to finish, but there's a couple of wonderful flowers here, and I'm going to show you some of the techniques to get the best out of them, because they can be tricky, and these techniques I've sort of built up over the years, a bit of trial and error. So don't make the mistakes that Pete made. Let Pete make the mistakes for you. So let's take a look. Right, I love this part. This is exciting. We're going to tear this open. This is how the craft box will arrive on your doorstep. And these boxes themselves, I use these for storage all the time, for cardstock. If I'm taking things to TV land, for example, all my stuff goes in here. They're really sturdy, so great boxes. Now let's open this up, and this is what we're going to get. Now, let's look at the dies first, because we've got some wonderful sets. Firstly, this one comes with its very own stamp set. So this is our Loving Thoughts collection, from which the craft box gets its name. So you're getting these wonderful dies, these spiral dies, quite intriguing. What's that all about? Well, all will be revealed. And we also have the stamps. Now, this light bulb coordinates with that lovely stamp there as well. Not just that, we've got our flourish frames. This is a favorite of many of the designs because it gives us so many options. We've got the lovely circle, and they all got this kind of like stitch effect around the edges. The most ornate frame there, we've got the oval, we've got the rectangle, we've got all these lovely flourish pieces as well. So there's lots of permutations, lots of different ways of putting this together. And then finally we've got Courtyard Bloom. It's a rather imposing floral, but we'll see how to use that in a second. I love this set. So there you go. There's 3 sets of dies. So there's the value already. You're talking about value. $24.99 UK, $34.99 US. You are saving against RRP or MSRP. You're saving £58. £58. And US almost $78. So that's quite a saving, and obviously the value is there in the dies. You're also getting some of this lovely ballet slipper textural. Never seen textural, never used textural, don't worry, we'll be going through that. We're getting our embossing pad, always handy to have a fresh embossing pad. And this lovely. Now this is my favorite color of embossing ink. It's not black, it's not grey, it's a gunmetal. So it's metallic, but it gives the most, and we'll show you an example of this being used. We have our tape runner. These things are absolutely marvelous. And finally, after all that, let's take a look. We've got a cardstock. I'm just going to put this to one side for a second. We've got a cardstock, and let's open up the bag. This is from the Botanical range, designed by Lisa Jones, and you can see you can see where it gets its name. It's got these lovely colors. There's the most gorgeous greens. There's a deep blue. There's a lovely cream. We've got these reds, reddish pinks, orangey reds. So there's the spectrum of reds there. That color, oh my word, I adore that. And this blue, it's almost a blue-gray. Gorgeous, just gorgeous. So you're getting 10 of those. And remember, it does have that lovely linen pattern on the top, and it's flat on the back. It's ideal for die cutting, it's ideal for card making, and it's ideal for embossing as well. So don't forget your embossing folders, folks. And then finally, we have 5 sheets of white card. I won't take this out. You've seen this card before. Great for your base cards, or it's just a lovely smooth white card. Great for inking as well, if you like your inking techniques. Now, let's just put these things to one side. Get rid of some of these bits and pieces for a second. Now, let's show you some examples, some things that I've made using these. But before I do that, I want to show you these lovely boards. Isn't that good? So this is the one, these are your stamps. That is a die cut, that phrase there. This stamp is actually, it's not for cutting a light bulb like that, although you can use it as such, but it actually, the die works around this stamp. And these two spirals are actually, they make the most gorgeous little flowers. So that's your Loving Thoughts set. Then we have the Courtyard Bloom. So we're getting that lovely floral, which we'll show you how that goes together in a second, and the leaf. And then finally our Flourish frames set. So these are the size, these are actual die cuts. So this is showing you what you're going to get. Absolutely gorgeous. These flourishes, wow, unbelievable. And the flourishes work against all of these different dies as well. They fit perfectly. That's something we're going to see in a second also. Now, projects, how about this? Using the Flourish flames and these little florals, that comes from those spirals. That's how you get these gorgeous little florals. And you can see the Flourish flames matte and layered here. And it's all using the colors as well that come with your craft box. Remember that lovely grey blue? Oh, isn't that gorgeous? This is your light bulb. You can see I've actually used distress inks as watercolors to get the color in there. And then finally, and probably most impressive of all, how about these? This is the Courtyard Bloom. This is the kind of thing that you can do with these. So whether you want to put them in a vase, whether you want to make a 3D, maybe you want to do some wall art, put them in a frame. How about a corsage? How about in my hair? Maybe not. I can't quite carry that one off, but you get the idea. These are gorgeous, gorgeous blooms. Now, let's just put these to one side for a second because I want to show you. I want to try and show you how to get the best out of these blooms. And this is the way that I've done it. Now, texture roll. What is the difference between texture roll and card? Well, texture roll is almost indestructible. It's kind of like a halfway house between cardstock and leather. So it's great for construction. It's great for journal covers and things like that. Things where you need something to be hard wearing. These are absolutely ideal. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lovely fold and form tool. And I'm actually going to give a little curl to the edge of my petals. But not only that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could use the full bloom. Now the base of that, see there's a tab here. So when I glue that, that gives you the base of this flower. But if I want to go smaller, and that's what I'm going to do on this occasion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to cut this away. Now, there you go, you get a lovely heart, should you wish, but that can be used again as well. So next I'm going to do 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut this one down the middle like so. So these bits don't go to waste. You can use them to make the flowers as well. Now we've got these two, and then next up I'm going to do a 3. So, but I'm preserving the tab each time. You don't necessarily have to. It doesn't really matter with this one. But let's look at the way I'm going to use these. And again, I'm going to curl these petals back. Now, you know what? If you wanted to get a more naturalistic looking flower, you can scrunch these up. And one of the great things about texture roll is you can really beat this stuff up. And it's, you know what? It just loves it. It's amazing. The way that it takes on those creases and gives it a more natural sort of look is quite staggering. And then once you've done that, you can take this tool and repeat, and you can get that lovely curve. But now what you've got, you see, are lovely natural creases in those flowers. Let's get my ever-present glue gun, because what I'm going to do is down this little tab here, I'm going to apply a little hot glue. The reason I'm using hot glue rather than using semi-express glue or my tape runner is because it's quicker. And I'm doing that for your sakes, folks. So I'm not going to stand here holding it together. So there's your base of your flower. Now, I'm going to do something. You might not like this, but see that point there? I'm going to press that into the table. So what it's done is flattened that base. So it gives me a good base for adding the rest of my florals too. Then I'm going to take my next one. Now this is 4. That was 5 petals. This is 4 petals. So again, we're going to run some glue down there and we're going to cross that over like that. So there's your 4 petals, and you can see we've curled those back. I'm going to use my fingertips as well, and again I'm pressing down. So we've got that flattened base, and that's where I'm going to add a little bit of glue. Now you can see when we put this together, you can see how it's starting to form there. Now what I can do with the third one, this one slightly different because what I want to do, I want to sort of making sure those go back. I want to curl this around and see how those flowers, when I'm twisting this, see how they're forming together like that. So we've got the 3, we've created that kind of fluted effect. And that's going to be the center of my flower, but there is one more to go before I do that. Now, you're probably wondering how this lovely material actually cuts. So, no time like the present. You see now, if you haven't seen this before, this is our new electronic machine. This is the Big Shot switch. Why is it called a switch? That's why. There's a little switch on the side. And I'm going to take my texture roll. Now, the texture roll you're actually getting, it's 6 inches by, what was it? 6 inches by 24, I think, or maybe 48. I'm not entirely sure. Let's have a look. Whatever it is. No, that's more than 24. That's 48. There you go. That's a long piece of texture roll. Wow. So let's roll that back up. And I'm going to cut a little bit off because I want to show you how it die cuts. It embosses quite beautifully, incidentally. And because of its indestructible, well, it's not completely indestructible. I don't want to say that you can't hit this with a blowtorch and destroy it. You can, of course. But it's very hardy. It's very difficult to tear. And I'm going to cut it with my Thinlits die. It's my Thinlits Floral from the Courtyard Blooms set. And to do that, I'm going to use my platform. Now, if you are a Sizzix user, if you use a Big Shot or have used a Big Shot in the past, then this will be entirely familiar to you. It's exactly the same. You've got all of the illustrations showing you how to make the sandwiches with the different products. So you've got your base platform, you've got your wafer thin die adapter, and of course your 2 cutting plates. And you will notice one of the major differences between this and your Big Shot is the fact that it's a 9-inch machine rather than a 6-inch machine. So in terms of width, it is that bit wider, but maybe you don't like the larger format machines. Don't worry about it, because you can put your Big Shot platform and plates through here as well. So you can use those smaller plates, so thereby converting it into a standard Big Shot. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the features of this, because it has this lovely, I love that lovely soft opening drawer. It also has some integral storage, so you can keep your favorite tools, or maybe your starter kit dies in there. Then we'll close it up. We'll see we've got our button, that's our power button, so we keep that on all the time. And this is the reverse button. So if you're doing, say, 3D embossing, or you've got a complex die, maybe you want to run it through twice. Once it comes through the back, then you can run it back through with that reverse function. I make no excuses for doing this. Oh, it's like a quality car door. I don't get to drive in quality cars, but on occasion I have heard people slamming their Bentleys. That's what it sounds like. It doesn't slam, it's so smooth. Now, what we're going to do is place this into the mouth of the machine and let the machine do the work. So while we're talking, you could be doing something else, moving something to one side. The machine is doing all the work for you. I'm not going to put this through twice, but if I needed to, I would press that button there. Then out it comes the other side, and there is your die cut shape. Wonderful, isn't it? Really relaxing, so easy to use, so smooth. And you'll find yourself all day polishing it like that. I know, I love it. Maybe it's just me, probably not, I don't know. But there we are. So now, what am I going to do? Okay, so we've cut that one. Let's do another 3, shall we? Because this time, I'm going to curl this back. And you can work around with this. You can do different numbers. If you want to twist it tighter, you can absolutely do that. That's not a problem. Please, please be my guest. Now, let's take my hot glue gun one more time. And we'll apply a little glue to that edge, to that tab again. And be careful with your fingers, obviously. And there we are. So that's going to sit in the center. And you know what? If I hadn't rushed that, because I'm thinking of you guys sitting there at home, you don't want to watch the glue drying. So let's try that again. Take two, as they say. But we're going to carry on regardless, because that's all ready to go now. That's going to hold. And I'm going to press this one down again. I'm going to make sure that the base is all squashed like that. So when I place this in the center of my flower, there, sits perfectly. How about that? If you want to push it down more, you can do it while it's in the flower. That's not a problem. So it's starting to take shape now. Remember the center that we did before. This time, and this is a little tip, I'm just cutting the base off. So it's going to sit nicely in there. It's not going to, the last thing we want is for it to crown too highly. So when I place that in there now, it just sits in that little pocket created. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, obviously this is the bigger version because I've used the full flower in the bottom. And let's cut one of the leaves, because one of the things about this gorgeous leaf is these areas here, they will emboss, and there are various products to help you get a better emboss as well. But when you run it through the machine, that's what's going to happen with those areas. And I'm going to reach over, take some of my cardstock, and we shall use one of these gorgeous, really rich, sumptuous greens here. Maybe we'll use the darker color actually. Let me look. There we are. Okay. This one here, I'm going to trim this down to size. So these sort of bluey green, almost an aqua kind of feel. And then place that on there. Go back to my switch machine. Place the plate on the top. Let the machine do the work. And while the machine's doing the work, I'm just going to tidy away, which is very much against my nature. But there we have it. So that's all good to go. Now, out it comes, and there's a little door at the back, which you don't notice until you run this through, because it actually opens, lets it through, and then closes again afterwards. Now, there is my leaf, and you can see, I hope, you can see where it's embossed, and it's left these lovely veins, very naturalistic, as one might expect in a real leaf. There we are. And I'm just going to pinch this at the bottom like that. I'm going to use this pair of tweezers, make a pinch, and like so. All right, and that's it. That's it. All I'm going to do now is attach these to the base of my flower, but I'm not going to waste time showing you how that's done. It's just a bit of hot glue. And of course, I've also used my tool to gently curl the edge of those petals. I'm sure you'll agree, it's absolutely stunning. You don't have to use texture oil, you can use any kind of cardstock to do this as well. But just stunning, stunning flowers, as I'm sure you'll agree. Now, next up, I want to show you something else. We're going to bring in our smaller flowers. So these two here that come as part of our kit, and I'm going to cut, we're going to go to that lovely sort of bluey grey color, and I'll just trim a piece to size, maybe a bit more, and we're going to die cut these again on our machine. So if I was 3D embossing, for example, I'd take off that and I just use a single plate as illustrated on the platform. But today it's all very much about die cutting. Incidentally, with electronic machines, there are quite a few out there on the market, and they're all about the wafer thin dies. This one allows you to cut your Biggs dies, and that's very important because Biggs die cutting technology allows you to cut so much more beyond paper and card. You can cut mat board, mount board, you can cut leather, you can cut textiles, you can cut multiples of textiles. So it doesn't really matter. You can cut it's anything you can cut with scissors, you can cut with them. So if you wanted to cut, say, 6 leaves from with a Biggs die, you could do that all in one pass through the machine. Not a problem at all. And let's take a look. We've got our spiral flowers here, and there are tricks to get the best out of these, and that's what I'm going to show you here and now. Let's put that behind there. So what I like to do first up is I'm going to take my paper sculpting kit, and I'm going to take one of the tools from there. I'm also going to take my embossing mat. It's never far away, my paper sculpting kit, in truth. What I'm going to do now this makes a difference, believe it or not. This makes a difference. So I'm going at each high point there. I'm actually pressing into the cardstock. And what that's doing is it's making it easier to work with because it's stretching the fibers, thereby softening it. It gives it a more natural look. It helps the petals to part so it's not just one big lumpy mass. And we'll go all the way around like so. Now, the next part, I'm going to use my hot glue gun again. But the next part, the next thing I'm going to do, rather, is I'm going to take this, and you see, I'm going to grab it with my tweezers now. Once you've got that, I'm going to put it against this finger. This is the way that I've found best. I'm just going to roll. Now, it's just a single action. I'm not following the die cut. The die cut is following my tweezers, and I'm going to roll, 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 all the way until we get to the center. By doing it like that, it gives you a lovely tight flower, but we're going to loosen this flower up anyway, but that's where I want to start. That's my starting point. So I just take my tweezers out. Now, there we are. What happens now is I relax, and this bloom opens out. Kind of more natural, but I want this to sit. There is the center. It's round, and that's where I'm going to put my glue, or rather I'm going to put my glue on the inside there. I'm going to squeeze a good blob of glue in there, so that's going to get all over the base of those petals where they focus in on the center. And I'm still manipulating this while the glue's hot. So that's what I want. Now, a lot of people do these too tight. I let it loosen, I let it relax. But what I am going to do is take my tweezers, and I'm going to start rolling some of the edges of these petals over. And this will give you a much more natural looking flower. In fact, it's a rose. It turns it into a rose. So we keep going around. You don't have to do all of them, just picking and choosing as you go around, like so. So when I twist these as well, it helps the petals separate. And when they separate like that, they start to look far more natural. Now, there's our full-size large flower. What I'm going to do now is press this into the table. So you see how it's flattened some of those petals, and it makes it look more natural. Now I'm going to reach under here because I've got the next size down, or rather, maybe it's over here. I don't know. I'm confused. Oh, here it is. Okay, so the next size down. So that was the large one, which is this, and the other one is the smaller one. Now, we've got two there. Okay, what if I wanted to go smaller still? Well, you don't have to buy another die. What you do is you simply take the smaller flower and you trim off a part of it like that. So straight away, you've got a smaller version of this flower. So it gives you a little more variety there. I'm going to put these to one side. I'm going to use those flowers in a sec because I'll show you how to put it together with some of those wonderful frames. And here we have it. So we got the 3 sizes there. This is from the Flourish frame set. You see that? Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the detail in that. And you wouldn't believe how easily it die cuts. And this is one of the flourishes. So I'm going for a very kind of monochromatic look here. Let's take some of my glue. I just squirt it onto my craft mat there. I find it to be the most effective way. And I'm going to apply it with my finger, actually. Let's take... This is the oval frame, which I cut, and this is from the cream card, which comes with the pack. And we're going to place that like that. So that bit has gone underneath, that has attached there. You don't have to do that. It's entirely up to you. It looks just as good on the outside. Now, at this point, I could stamp a sentiment in the center, or I could use some die cut letters, or whatever you have. We've had some. If you are an avid collector of these craft boxes, you will probably have some gorgeous alphabets, which will do the trick nicely. So there we are. We put those together. You'll notice I only use the glue in that one place because I want it to stand proud. I want it to stand away from that. I want to get a bit of depth and dimension in there. Then I'm going to take this. Let's take my glue, a bit more glue, just across the center, thus, and I'm going to place this over there. So you see where it stands proud, like that. What's happening there is you're getting depth, you're getting dimension, you're getting light and shadow. So it's monochromatic, single color, but you are getting, with that shadow, you're getting other tones in there. Now this is a base card. Again, it's that lovely deep blue. It's that cream that came with the pack. And I'm going to apply just a little of my express glue to the center, like so, before placing this sort of offset like that. Now, this one, what I'm going to do with this, I'm just going to tear it. I'm just going to tear it. I'm not messing about here. So we could use the ball end stylus as well, so I could get a little extra depth into these little pellets, because who's not to say this isn't very stylized foliage. So, and that's how I'm going to use it here today. So take a little glue from there and place it thus. Before taking the largest of my flowers, take a little bit of hot glue on the back and placing that there like so. Then I'll take the middle flower and place it just below. So I'm kind of making this up as I go along, but I'm looking for lovely visual balance. And then finally, my other element, again, let's get them out. Let's do this. I'll hold this in my hand. So we're getting that depth. We shall place that in here. So it's coming off the edge of this tab, which I cut by hand. But where it was torn, that's all going to be covered by that small flower. And it's a lovely, classy base. It's that monochromatic look, which I kind of like. When I say, obviously, it's not one color, as in mono, but you know, it's got that sort of that really classy kind of neutral vibe to it. A splash of color would look perfect on here. A lovely sentiment across there, whether you stamp it or die cut it, it's entirely up to you. But that's one way of using the frames. It's one way of using the flowers. We have other flowers. We also have a lovely light bulb set with the stamps and dies. There you go. There's another one there. I'm going to put that down there. Just lots of options. One of the great things about this Loving Thoughts Craft Box is it is so versatile. There's so many things you can do with it. There are some classic designs like the frames. They have a very classic feel. Very modern florals as well. I think there's something for everybody. Value, we've talked about the value. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you very much. It is our February Craft Box. It is our Loving Thoughts Craft Box. Go to the website, that's sizzix.co.uk, or if you're in the US, sizzix.com. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.